Here's lesson 105, number 10. It wants you to develop the formula for the sum of a geometric series. So it's the same exact procedure that can be found on lesson 104, page 588. You basically, and I explained it in the lecture video for 105 as well, and so you can see this done if you want to refer to the lecture video that I already posted. Basically, you start out with a number and then you multiply it by something, right? And we call that R. It's the common ratio. Like, say you started out with a 3 and say your common ratio is 3. So you'd go 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. You keep multiplying by the same common ratio, and we call that R. And so the R keeps adding a power, and so this is just a way of showing that you start out with some number, then you multiply it by the same number over and over again. That's how you get the R and the R squared. Then it'd go R cubed, or it would just keep going, and then at the very end you'd end up with the first number that you had times R raised to the n minus 1 power. That's just how these sequences work. If you put the plus signs in between them, now you're summing up a series. So the way that you develop the formula is you write down the original, what the series would be, and then you take that series and multiply it by a power of R. So that it's kind of like you're doing a system of equations, and then also multiply it by -1 so that you can do the elimination. Basically, you're doing the elimination method on it. Okay, so if you multiply each term by R, see how you get this like diagonal cancellation going on? You know how and you can do this with any system of equations. You can multiply the second equation by something and get it so that something will cancel out. Well, that's kind of what's happening. See, these are canceling out, canceling out, canceling out. You always end up with the first thing and this last thing here. Okay, everything else cancels out. You're just showing that you're doing that. That's all they want you to do. And it explains it really well on page 588. So anyway, you do that. It gives you the it says you took the first equation and you subtracted that same thing but multiplied by R. Ended up with this because of all the cancellation. Solve it for S sub n. Well, first we factored out, here's just a little algebra, we factored out S sub n. Then we want to solve it for S sub n, so we divide both sides by 1 minus R. Then you end up with this thing. If you want to clean it up, you can factor out the A right here. Okay, so you go down here, factor out the A, and then you have 1 minus R to the n. That's all that's going on right there. And that should be familiar to you because you've already used this little formula before. So there's your formula. Now they want you to find out what is the sum of the first 6 terms if you start with a 1 and R is -1/2. So you just plug in the numbers in. I plugged in a 1 right here for A, and I plugged in R as 1/2. And I want 6 terms, so I raised it to the 6. I did some fraction math. Of course, I messed up my fraction math a little bit because this was an even power, so this thing turned out to be even. Or this thing turned out to be positive, and then there's a minus sign, and I got a little carried away there. But this ends up being 64/64 minus 1/64, which will be 63/64. And down here, common denominators, 2/2. When you minus a minus, it's plus, and just from fraction math that we're doing over here. And then I did a little bit of cancellation to clean it up, stuck it in the calculator, and end up with this is the answer.